Hello everybody, it is me Dylan and welcome back to Slightly Bitter, the channel where I am bitter and I don't know, I'm not really doing an intro like that. So today we are going to be talking about RuPaul Drag Race, start your engines, whatever. RuPaul Drag Race, may the best me win. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about the validity of each Drag Race contestant who has been invited back for All Stars. Now, this is a video that I have been kind of thinking about doing for a while. Since the last live stream that I did was so great, I thought, why not we do another one where we talk about something that always has kind of bothered me as someone that loves reality television, the validity of inviting back contestants as All Stars. Now, here's my problem with Drag Race All Stars. I have felt that the show has kind of, let me make myself a little smaller. I have felt that in the past few years, the show has kind of changed the meaning of All Stars, and I kind of wish that they would change the meaning of it. I've come to accept the fact that these are not All-Star seasons. More so, these are just spin-offs to give queens that have already competed on the show a second chance. I think that the first two seasons had the intention of bringing back the best of the best, but as we've gone further and further into the run of the show, it's just been apparent. It's just been painfully obvious that the show has been anything but an actual All-Star season. I'm gonna quickly check in with the live stream to make sure that we are running, that we are good, that we are smooth. So give me just a quick second to check in with everything. Okay, it looks like the stream is going well. Okay, so I'm going to try my best to check in with you guys throughout the live stream to make sure that you guys are having a good time, answer any questions. That way I'm not checking back at the end of the live stream and taking up a whole hour for people that just want to see me ranking it. So let's go through the category of what I've had. So I have 5 categories today for ranking all these contestants. And yes, this is everybody from season 1 through 6 of All Stars, including contestants that have returned. So Jujubee is on here twice. Alexis is on here twice. I'll go through why they're on here twice in a second. So the 5 categories are basically what I would consider reasonings for bringing a queen back. So the first category is serious contender. To me, these are the prime examples of what an all-star is. An all-star, whether it's in sports or it's on these reality shows, is someone that is the best of the best. Somebody that can really has a serious chance of winning. Someone that proved either in their game or in their previous season that they are a contender to win. They are a strong competitor and could actually take home the win at the end of the season. These contestants would be, for example, Alaska, Chad Michaels, somebody that we went into the season being like, oh, they're going to win, or we could see them winning. People that won 3 or more challenges in their season were right there at the end and just got cut short. 1 or 2 things gone differently, this queen could have won their season. So to me, that is the pinnacle of what an all-star is. So that's the top category. The second category is fan favorite. Now, you do have to keep in mind when you're casting for an all-star season, whether it is Survivor or it is RuPaul Drag Race, is the entertainment factor. Fan favorite plays a part in it. This could be a miscongeniality. This could be a standout star from the season. Fan favorite has to be taken into account. And this could be people that did well on the season on top of being a fan favorite. But I'm putting the fan favorite category as the number 2 important. Next is some star. So the some star category, even though it is kind of insulting to call someone a some star, this is somebody that had a presence on their season. They did, and not like, oh my god, why are they here? Like, I can see why they were invited back. It's just they wouldn't be a first choice, in my opinion. But I understood why they were invited back, and I'm not mad at it. The 4th category is a wild card. Now, something to understand with All-Star seasons is that Whether it is in sports or it is in a reality competition show, it is always important to throw a wild card in there. A wild card is someone that may not necessarily have done well in their previous season, or it's someone that you're not expecting to be there. Do they deserve to be on All Stars? More than likely, probably not. You probably wouldn't rank them as an all-star on their own, but they're there to shake the game up, to keep you on your toes, to shake the cast up. They're kind of the surprise pick, and I'm not mad that they would be there. And then the final category is why are you here? There are just some queens that have been invited back to All Stars that I truly don't understand why they were even there. And that's what that category is going to be for. It's going to be queens that just have no business being on the season. I want to preface this by saying this too. There isn't anyone that has been invited back to All Stars that I don't believe has some level of talent. This has nothing to do with the talent of a queen. This has nothing to do with throwing shade at them. I think that every single competitor that has been invited back to All Stars, including Serena Chacha, is a fantastic performer. Anybody that would go on national television as a drag queen, as a cross-dresser, deserves some sort of standing ovation, in my opinion. So this is not throwing shade on them as entertainers or as artists. This is just within the realm of Drag Race, which is very different from the realm of drag spot back on the competition show. This is all within the realm of Drag Race itself, nothing to do with the outside world. Okay, I'm also going to say that I already did a ranking of this a couple hours ago, and I will show you guys what my ranking was when the video is over. I don't remember what it was, just to see if how it compares after I've talked it out, if I had the same feelings after a while. I'm going to quickly check in the chat to see who's here, what's popping, what's going down, and say hello to some of you. Can't Stop Avin, welcome back. Blue Yoshi, nice to see you again. Welcome back, Clint, nice to see you. The Wild Arcanine, hello. Mimi, I'm first, should never been an all-star, agreed. How you doing, Matt? We got Bryce, H2O Olympian is in the house. We got Singud, 199, I hope I was saying that correctly. Yeah, so we have a pretty big audience joining us tonight. Welcome back to all of you. Anyway, let's start off this ranking. So the first queens we're going to talk about are the season 1 queens. Now, for the most part, I thought that pretty much everyone that was there deserved a second chance, with a few people like, no. The problem was that originally Willem was supposed to be in this cast, as was Fifi, but the casting kept on changing, and Fifi apparently got arrested or had some legal issues, so she couldn't be on the first All-Star season. So they ended up cutting Willem, which I still don't understand, and they put Mimi M first in there. To be honest with you, I think that had they cut Mimi and put Willem in there, and it be 3 from each of the 4 original seasons, this could have been the best All-Star cast. Better than Season 2's All-Star cast. And again, I think the real issue with All Stars 1 was the format. I think that this could have been the best season the show had ever seen if it wasn't for that format, even with Mimi M first being there. Okay, so I have everyone ranked, spoiler alert, sorry, everyone ranked in the order of their elimination on their season from winner to last place, except obviously for Season 6 All-Star cast, which we don't know the elimination order yet. I've been somewhat spoiled, but not really. So we're going to start with Chad Michaels. Chad Michaels is going to go in serious contender category. So Chad Michaels is going to serious contender because Chad was neck and neck with Sharon. I think that had Sharon not been so well received by the audience, Chad could have came out with the win this season. Chad did fairly well throughout the entire season. There wasn't really any point throughout the season that Chad was gonna go home. I think Chad's lowest point was at the Final Four, where Chad didn't do bad. It's just that Sharon and Fifi did better. I would argue that Chad did better than Fifi, to be honest with you. But Chad was like the number 1 pick to be brought back. And as soon as we saw Chad in this all-star cast, we knew that he was going to at least make the finale, if not win, even though he had some really fierce competition. But Chad had to be is a serious contender. He was an all-star, whether he won or not. Next is Raven. What's the word? what's the word for, trigger warning, sorry, uh blackfishing Raven. But ignoring all of that, Raven was a serious contender on her season. Many argue that Raven actually should have won season 2. I beg to differ. I do think that Tyra did deserve her win on that season. However, Raven was a fierce competitor. Raven is probably the best example of a contestant that didn't necessarily do well at the beginning of the competition, but turns it out towards the end, because Raven was in the bottom 2 in the very beginning, but then was able to have a major upswing, and she was in the top all the way through the rest of the competition. So Raven was an obvious choice. She was runner up, just like Chad. She was a serious contender coming into the season, and even though she didn't win any challenges, she did really well throughout a majority of the season. Next was Jujubee. Now here's the thing with Jujubee. Jujubee did really well on, I would say, all 3 of her times on All Star on any of her seasons. She always made it to the finale. However, in her original season, Juju was in the bottom 3 times. And Juju was never a serious contender for the crown. She was just always really likable, really charming. She did fairly well in a few of the challenges, but I would put her more in the category of fan favorite. I do think that she deserved her all-star spot 100%. I would consider her an all-star. Just keep that in mind, that these top 2 categories, if you're in these top 2 categories, you deserve your all-star spot. And it does not make, and to me, both of these categories are interchangeable on their importance. So Juju 100% deserved her all-star spot. But if you look at her performance on season 2, she was in the bottom a lot. She was in the bottom, I want to say, 5 times, 2 low placements and 3 bottom 2 placements. However, she was, I would say, the first real lip sync assassin, because I mean, you had Akasha, who was the first lip sync assassin, winning 2 out of 3 lip syncs. Juju won 3 out of 3 lip syncs. She was the first queen to accomplish this. And she had no challenge wins on her season. So Juju was a huge fan, was over, and to this day is still one of the most legendary fan favorite queens of all time. So Juju, the thing with Chanel was that Chanel, it's hard for me because I vaguely remember season 1, because season 1 wasn't that memorable. But out of the queens from season 1, Chanel definitely was not like the standout choice. I mean, if you're not counting any of the winners, you had Nina, you had Angina. I would dare to say even Rebecca Glasscock was a more outstanding presence on the show than Chanel was. But I do think that Chanel did deserve her spot. But when you compare her to some of the other queens that were brought back, I wouldn't say that she was a first choice. I think her more memorable moments was definitely telling the judges that she wanted to go home. That's definitely a reason why I don't know if I'd put her in the category of an all-star, just because she basically did quit. She was in a lot of drama that season, though. However, she was a big presence on the show. So I'm going to put her in the category of a some star, even though I do think she's legendary. She had a lot of iconic moments on that season. It's just, I wouldn't say that she was a fan favorite or a serious contender. I kind of feel like she was one of the lower tier people that was brought back on this specific season. I do still think that she was an all-star. I do still think that she deserved her spot there. It's just that out of the people that were brought back, she wasn't one of the standouts to pick. I really feel like the only standouts to pick from season 1 at the time would have been a Nina Flowers or a Angina. I definitely think Hannah said yes, we might not have seen Chanel back this early, but I do think that Chanel did deserve her spot on All Stars, and I mean, she did really well. She won 3 challenges, thanks to Chad. But I would put Chanel in the some star category. Alexis Mateo, I would put in the serious contender category. Alexis Mateo made top 3 her original season. She won 3 challenges, and despite being in the bottom 2, 3 times, she did really well. She was in the top a lot of the time, and had she not been on a season with so much talent, I think Alexis Mateo wins the season. The problem was that at the time, I think the judges favored Raja and Manila, which is crazy to say because Raja and Manila are such fierce, talented queens. But Alexis Mateo just didn't have that charm on the judges the way that the other queens did. But Alexis Mateo did really well in the season by winning lots of challenges, making it really far. She was a favorite contender. She had amazing runways, always did well in challenges. Like, Alexis was a serious contender and definitely an all-star, if we're bringing back from season 3. Now with Yara Sofia only won, I believe, one challenge on her season, but she was in the top a lot this season. And had she won the money ball, which, to be honest with you, looking back at the money ball, I thought it was ridiculous the way that they judged it. I thought Jara should have won that challenge instead of being in the bottom 2. And if you really think about it, had Jara won that challenge rather than placing in the bottom 2, she would have had the same track record as Manila. Her, Raja, and Manila would have all been like neck and neck. So I feel like Jara is in an interesting category because I feel like she was both a serious contender and a fan favorite. But I'm going to lean more towards putting her in the fan favorite category just because she was a Miss Congeniality. And I felt like that was what pushed her over the edge, was her personality, more so than her performance in this season. But she's a fierce queen. She's one of the most fierce people that has ever appeared on the show, period. But I'm going to put her in the fan favorite category just because I feel like she has the best of both worlds, and her charming likability was more so the reason why she was brought back. Next is Latrice. Latrice goes in fan favorite for obvious reasons. Latrice, I would say before All Stars 4, definitely was the biggest fan favorite of any season of Drag Race. She was like the Rupert Boneham, even though I'm not a fan of Rupert from Survivor, but she was the Rupert of Drag Race. Like, everyone loved Latrice. Like, there wasn't anyone that could say anything bad about her on either of her seasons. However, when you look at her performance on season 4, she was one of the standouts by far. Really, season 4, when you watch it back, it was really about the top 4 of that season, and some parts were about Willem and some parts were about Jiggly, but it was mainly about that top 4, Sharon, Chad, Fifi, and Latrice, and they were the ones winning the challenges. Latrice did really well in her season and definitely warranted a spot on All Stars outside of her likability. However, it was most definitely her personality. She was a Miss Congeniality, and her story that really cemented her being invited back for an all-star season. And I do think that she was a contender for the crown. It's just that Latrice has shown that she is good on Drag Race, but she isn't the best on Drag Race. And I feel like she showed that on all 3 of her seasons. So I would put her in the fan favorite category as to why she was brought back. Manila would go in the serious contender category. Manila, honestly, it was a toss-up between her and Raja winning. A lot of people thought at the season, even before All Stars 4, Manila had a huge fan base. Like, if you're new to Drag Race, Manila was probably one of the biggest fan favorites of all time. I mean, you could tell in All Stars 1, if you watch it back, how hesitant Rue was to sending home Manila and Latrice, and that was why they were brought back for All Stars 4, the first ones. Because in fact, I believe both of them were invited to All Stars 3 as well, but they couldn't do it at the time, so they had to wait for All Stars 4. But Manila really was one of those queens that was iconic from the moment that she went on her first season. She was on Drag U as well. There were like these app mobile games. I remember Manila was in those. But Manila seriously was a fan favorite, but more so a serious contender. She had one of the best track records in season 3, and arguably should have won season 3 of Drag Race. But Manila was a serious contender coming into All Stars 1, and it was actually very surprising seeing her and Latrice not make it further in the competition. Next is Nina Flowers. Nina Flowers was the first Miss Congeniality. However, I would put her in the category of serious contender rather than fan favorite, because by this time there were other people that were bigger fan favorites than she was, just because she was such an older season. But Nina is another queen that arguably should have won her season. When BB won, a lot of people did not agree with it. A lot of people felt like Nina should have won. It's still really argued that Nina should have won her season. She was the first queen to make it to the final 2 without ever having to lip sync for her life. She did well. She was in the top every single week of season 1 with the exception of 1 week. Every other week, top two, top three. She only won a single challenge, but she was a strong competitor throughout the entire season. Nina was definitely a force to be reckoned with, and coming into the season, she had really high expectations. She didn't do as well as people thought she was going to do. I'm actually really surprised that they have not invited her back for All Stars yet. Who hasn't been invited back from season one? Or, I mean, another All Star season. I think the only ones left from All Stars 1 that haven't been invited back are Chad, who won, Raven, who does Rue's makeup, Nina, Chanel, who was, from what I heard, Chanel was supposed to be on All Stars 6, but they lowered the cast from 14 to 13, and probably because they want to keep doing All Stars. So if they included more queens, they're gonna run out of queens at some point. Tammy Brown and Mimi I'm first. So there's still half the cast that needs to be included. I'm surprised that Nina was not invited back sooner, but I kind of get it because I guess Jarlexis and Latrilla were bigger fan favorites, as was Jujubee and Pandora Box. But I think that if we get another, if we get All Star 7, I think that Nina's one of the people that will get the call. I hope. I think the season 1 girls from All Star 1 are definitely the next options. Next up is Tammy Brown. Tammy Brown is going into the wild card category for obvious reasons. Tammy Brown was the first queen on Drag Race to throw a lip sync. If you go back and watch episode 2 of season 1, Tammy just danced the music. She didn't lip sync at all. It was kind of an easy win for Akasha. But if you watch All Stars 1, when Tammy did lip sync, Tammy killed the lip sync, and it was really close between her and Latrice. And given the song that they were given, Latrice could have easily wiped the floor with her. And Tammy was definitely someone that could have done a lot better on season 1 had she not thrown in the towel the way that she did. Obviously, she gets the wild card category because she is one of the craziest queens to ever go on the show. Like, I remember she auditioned for America's Got Talent, or like one of those shows, and completely trolled it. She's saying, "I'm happy as a clam, oh yes I am. I'm happy as a clam, oh yes I am." It's the funniest shit ever, I'm telling you. But Tammy is clearly a wild card contestant to shake the game up. And I completely agreed with her being invited back from the first 4 seasons if they wanted that equal representation of 1, 2, 3, and 4. But Tammy is easily a wild card. Then we go to Mimi I'm first. With Mimi I'm first, Mimi was a replacement for Willem, which I still disagree with. I feel like it should have just been 3 from each season. There was no reason to cut Willem. Willem would have been a perfect fit in this cast, and probably the only other time we could have gotten Willem back on the show. But Mimi was thrown in there simply for the drama, and she was a wild card. As much as I would love to put Mimi in the "Why Are You Here" category, we know why Mimi was there. Because someone has to go home first, in the words of Jara Sophia. But no, Mimi was through and through a wild card pick, as was Tammy Brown. I mean, Mimi was the last person that they brought in, if I'm correct. I could be wrong on that, but I think she was the last person to enter the workroom, and she definitely was the biggest entrance. She had the biggest reaction, and in fact, I would say the only good part of All Stars came from Mimi's appearance. Funnily enough, because if you look at it, the only parts of All Stars 1 that I remember the double save with Raven and Juju. And then I remember the Untucked fight from episode 1, which was all about Mimi. And then I remember Pandora being bitter about being paired with Mimi the whole time. So, yeah, but Mimi I'm first is not an all-star, nowhere near an all-star, but a wild card pick. I think a good wild card pick, if I'm being honest. She definitely delivered what she was supposed to deliver. Then we have Pandora Box. Now, I'm weighing between putting Pandora in the serious contender category and the fan favorite category. Pandora was another Miss Congeniality, and it's tough because Pandora didn't win any challenges on her season, but she did really well, and she was in the top pretty much every single week besides the week that she went home. So I don't know where to put her, but I would say when you're looking at, okay, serious contender, someone that was going to win the crown, I felt like with her cast, she wasn't ever really in the talks to actually win the crown, just because she was a Susan Lucci. I think had she won a challenge or two, done a little better, maybe if she had won the makeover challenge, like if she had won the last few challenges, maybe she could have won. But I'm gonna say that Pandora was more so brought back because she was a fan favorite. She was more of a second chance type of deal. Like she needed to redeem herself, win a challenge or two. I'm gonna put her in the fan favorite category rather than the serious contender, even though I feel she's a serious contender. I really felt like any of these 9 queens could have won season 1 of All Stars. Had the theme been differently or anything like that, they all had a chance. It was really these 3 that we didn't see winning at any point. But that would be my ranking for the first All Star. And if you notice, for the most part, it's all at the top. All Stars 1 was a pretty good cast, and it really could have been a legendary season had the show not fucked it up with the format. I'm going to quickly check in with the YouTube chat, see how y'all are doing, see who's having a good time. Let me see. We got Insulin Dependent Skank. What are these names? I am weak. Doesn't do full drag on drag like that anymore. Oh, she doesn't. Because I know she's a DJ. I actually did not know that. I'm going to call you IDS. But thank you for letting me know. Austin Games X. Hi, Dylan. Are you casting for I Love Money 8? I am, actually. If you're interested, message me on Twitter. It's the same thing as my YouTube name, at Slightly Bitter with an AH. So if you're interested in playing Austin, just let me know on Twitter. Send me a message over there. Hey, John Zhao. Hey, Deshawn, how you doing? Yeah, teams completely screwed over season 1 of All Stars. Chanel should have been top 2 over Raven. It made no sense for her to be top. Well, I agreed with that. I felt like when they did the top 2, they really were just picking the best of the best. And that was the problem with All Stars 1, was that the teams thing left it so it was either you won or you lost, and they were so close. Like, really, the wins could have gone either way. And Raven didn't do bad on All Stars 1. It's just that they were giving the wins to Chad Michaels and Chanel. I don't even remember what their name was. Was it Chanel? Oh, it was Shad. They were giving it to Team Shad. So I don't know, but season 1 was just a fucking disaster. Oh, hi, Sigurd. Oh my god, Sigurd said not dark mode. What on the thing? Yeah, I thought it would look cooler. Hi, Keisha. Love you. Okay, anyway, I'm going to go back to the ranking. I'll check in with y'all in a little bit. All right, we're going to move on to All Stars 2. Let me just quickly get the timestamp for this right now, so I know when. Okay, so 27 minutes is the timestamp, because I'm going to make chapters so people know. Okay, Season 2 of All Stars. Okay, All Stars 2 is the best All Star season we've had. There's no question about it. I do feel like All Stars 1 had the better cast. But this season really just had, like, some iconic legends. And in my opinion, every single person that was on this cast deserved their spot there. And you're going to see a lot of people in the top 3 categories. Alaska, serious contender. Alaska is still argued to have won season 5. I'm telling y'all right now, Alaska was in no way winning that season. Jinx Monsoon was in the top 3 every single week, with the exception of the first 2 weeks and the last week. And if it wasn't a team challenge in the second week, I think that she would have been in the top along with Lanisha Sparks, because she was given the best critiques out of the people that were saved. So Alaska was never winning season 5, in my opinion. But Alaska, we saw the cast drop. We all knew she was winning. It was no question. The only other queen that we were thinking could have won was Katya and Detox. Other than that, we all knew Alaska was winning the second that we saw the cast, and not just because of the spoilers. But Alaska did great on her season. She was never in the bottom. She was the only queen that season to never have to lip sync. And she did really well. And then she came back and did even better. So Alaska was a serious contender. With Detox, I'm going to put Detox in the fan favorite category, and this is why. Detox did really well. She got top 4. She won 1 challenge, and she was in the bottom 3 times. On top of that, if you look at her rankings, she was safe throughout pretty much the entire season. She won one challenge and she was in the top in one other challenge. It was the perfume challenge. Yes, I'm a drag race historian. Don't ask me why I know all this stuff, but and by the way, I felt like she should have won that challenge. Cause I shit you not, I would play that video while I was at camp. And show it to my friends, and we would quote it. Like, that video was hilarious. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Detox heroin perfume. And yes, she called her perfume heroin, not like the drug, but like, you know, there's hero and there's heroin, like a female hero. It's the funniest shit ever. She'd be like, seduction, scission, heroin. It's the funniest shit ever. I'm not even kidding. Anyway, let me move on. But yeah, Detox, she didn't she admitted herself she did not do good on her original season, but she was a fan favorite, undeniably. And her reunion look inspired an entire theme on Drag Race. It was that legendary. But yeah, she was fan favorite. Katya. With Katya, it's really hard where to place her, because I do feel like she was a serious contender to win. Had she not landed in the bottom during that makeover challenge, I mean, not the makeover, the Hello Kitty ball, hell, if she would have just won the lip sync against Kennedy, or just been in the bottom with anyone but Kennedy, she would have won that season. Because at top 4, there was no way they were chopping her at top 4. And then at top 3, Rue would have given her the crown. 100%. So it's hard because serious contender versus fan favorite, but I'm gonna put her in the fan favorite category just because Ginger was the serious contender to win. I felt like it was between Violet and Ginger, even though I felt Ginger should have won. But Katya's fan favoritism was really what pushed her over the edge to be brought back. Like, people were saying Katya for All Stars before we even knew there would be another All Star season. Like, Katya was locked in from the jump because she was a fan favorite. It wasn't because of how she did on the show. It was because she was fan favorite. And that's really where I'm drawing the line, is were they invited back because of their performance or because of their reception by the audience? And Katya 100% was invited back because of her reception by the audience. Probably the biggest fan favorite in the history of the show, even to this day. We have Roxy Andrews. Roxy Andrews is going in the serious contender category, and this is why. Roxy was kind of Fifi Part 2, and I talked about this when I ranked the seasons of the show. Season 5 kind of felt like, at the time, a redo of Season 4, because the story of Season 4 was Sharon versus Fifi, the pageant girl, even though Fifi is not pageant at all, versus the quirky queen, basically, even though it's weird to call Sharon quirky. With Season 5, it was the same thing. It was Roxy hating on Jinx, who was the quirky character. Roxy was pageant. And Roxy was hated going into the season. It's weird to think about it today, because today we all know her as, I'm Roxy Andrews and I'm here to make it clear. And I think more people remember her from her appearance on the All-Star seasons rather than her appearance on Season 5, which I'm a fan of. She definitely improved herself and her attitude when she came back. She got the story that Fifi wanted so desperately. She was invited back because she was a serious contender. To be honest with you, I was surprised that she was invited back. At the time, I didn't even think of her as being like a top pick. I was excited that she was back. I wanted her back, and I do think she deserved her spot there. But I wasn't expecting her to be one of the people that they picked, if you know what I mean. Just because of all the seasons that they could have picked from, I expected a Ben de la Creme or someone like that instead of her. But she was a serious contender that season. Even though there was no way she was winning with her audience reception and her character throughout the show, her performance was a winning performance. There was never a week where she was safe. She was either in the top 3, winning the challenge, or lip syncing, or in the bottom 3. She always, always, always left the judges either in a good note or a bad note. And Roxy is a legendary queen. Even though her performance on All Stars was bad, she came into the season as a serious contender. Alyssa Edwards, no shock, fan favorite. Alyssa Edwards is with Katya as being one of the biggest fan favorites of the show, and she was invited back because she was very well received, a huge character, She was actually the lowest placing queen that was invited back for All Stars. She got top 6. And on top of that, you have to remember on her season, she only won one challenge, the dancing challenge. And she was in the bottom, I want to say 4 times in a row. Besides her immunity, she would have been in the bottom 5 times. She had to lip sync 3 times. But she was part of one of the most iconic lip syncs, arguably one of the best. It's Rue's favorite lip sync. But no, Alyssa was definitely brought back for being a fan favorite more than being a serious contender for the crown, even though I felt as the season progressed, she became a serious contender for the crown. Sorry, I don't know why, but whenever I go live, my nose always gets itchy. I think it's because of my long hair. Also, my outfit for today, I was going to wear a sweater, but my ring light is way too hot. I was going to go for a little Butch Country Boy moment because I also had a bucket hat that I was going to wear. But then I decided, you know what, I'm reaching a new audience today. Why don't I just be shirtless and go for a little thirst trap moment? Body positivity, even though I've gained 25 pounds since quarantine. I actually, you know what, I think that I've gone down a little bit since I started hitting the gym again. And I'm probably at like 156. I was weighing myself while on vacation at Hershey Park, so like forgive me, but all about that body positivity. So hopefully I'm giving the gays what they want by having a little thirst trap moment. Anyway, back to Drag Race. So next up is Tatiana. With Tatiana, I'm not sure where to put her. Definitely in the top 2 categories. 100%. 100%. I'm just trying to figure out which one is better to put her in, because Tati in her original season was a fan favorite coming into the season, one of the OG fan favorites. She was kind of the OG queen at the time because she was all the way from season 2 when we were at season 7 at that point. It's just, would I consider her a serious contender going into the season? Definitely, but I felt like everyone was a serious contender. I think the only queen that at the time I couldn't see winning was Coco Montrese, but even Coco, I was like, I could see her winning, but every queen came into this to All Stars 2 with a serious content. Like, I could have seen them winning. I couldn't see them getting eliminated, but obviously we all thought Alaska was going to win 100%. With Tatiana, though, in her season, she won Snatch Game. She did fairly well in a lot of the challenges, but she also didn't do so well in a lot of the challenges. I'm going to put her in the fan favorite category just because I think that her personality and her charm and likability and the drama she got in and her reception by the fans was more so what brought her back rather than anything else. So rather than her actual run on the show. So I'm going to put her in the fan favorite category. Next is Fifi O'Hara. She goes in the serious contender category. Fifi, in my opinion, should have been cut at the top 3 in season 4, back when they used to do a top 2 and final 3 chop off. However, Fifi won 2 challenges. I don't know why I thought 3. Maybe she did win 3 and I'm just not remembering. I think she won 2 though. She was a serious contender for the crown. If it wasn't for her personality, she was the villain of the season. And on top of that, she just did really well. She was in the top a lot. She was only in the bottom once, and it was against Sharon. Excuse me. Oh, y'all didn't hear that, but but yeah, Fifi was a serious contender, and coming to the season, she had a lot to prove. Her drag had changed drastically since her first appearance. So Fifi was a serious contender. She definitely was not a fan favorite in any sort of means, and she definitely was not a some star. She was an all-star, and she was the first queen to make it a final 3 rather than a final 2. So yeah. Next is Ginger Minj, obviously going in the serious contender category. If y'all don't remember from my last live stream where I talked about Drag Race ranking the seasons, Ginger probably got the most hate since Fifi O'Hara. We hadn't seen that level of hatred. Even Roxy Andrews, to my knowledge, didn't get as much hate as Fifi or Ginger did. Ginger's fan reception is what lost her the crown, because Ginger came into that finale as being the one that everyone thought was going to win. I think realistically what cost Ginger the win was both Bianca and Jinx winning back-to-back 2 comedy queens, and the fans not liking her. I mean, I'll tell this story one more time for the people that are new here, but when Twitter, when Rue was doing, I would like to ask the audience, who do you want to win America's Next Drag Superstar? Pearl gets like 20,000 retweets and likes. Violet gets like 5,000. Ginger doesn't even break 1,000. She had like somewhere around 500. It was really sad. If you go back and look at it, it's still probably there on Twitter. But Pearl was the favorite of the three, leaps and bounds, but Pearl was never winning the crown. Violet was somewhat liked because she was the young, skinny queen, and Ginger was just like the older queen, even though Ginger was not even 30 at the time of filming, to my recollection. But Ginger did amazing throughout the whole competition. To be honest, her track record is comparable to Simone's. Like, it was that good. The only times where she was at the bottom was when she was in a partner challenge with Trixie and with Sasha Bell. And it was dancing and sewing. But Ginger, in my opinion, should have won that season. And it's argued that she should have won. She obviously came back and didn't do as well. I think it's because she came back so quickly and on the heels of being hated by so many people. She was more concerned, just like Fifi and Roxy, she was more concerned about changing the fans' perception rather than winning. Even though I do think she did want to win. But Ginger came into that season as a serious contender, and I think for All-Star 6, she's a serious contender as well. Adore Delano. With Adore Delano, the thing with her is that, if y'all don't know, season 6 was supposed to be a double crowning. They filmed 4 different endings. They filmed Bianca winning, Adore winning, Courtney winning, and then Adore and Bianca winning. So shady that they didn't even do one with Courtney, a double crowning with Courtney. That's how Courtney knew she wasn't winning. But Bianca and Adore were neck and neck for the crown. And if Bianca didn't have the best track record in Drag Race history, and if it wasn't so inarguable, like without a doubt that Bianca was supposed to win, like there was no history where Bianca was not supposed to win, Adore would have won that season. However, when you look at Adore's performance on the season 6 was really the first time where people were like, okay, Drag Race is low-key manipulating. I love Adore. She is one of my favorite queens from the show. But there were a lot of weeks where Adore was saved where she had no business being saved. For example, the acting challenge, she was the team captain. And while her performance was decent, we've seen that usually being the captain of the losing team should land you in the bottom. And Adore was saved from the bottom. Even though she gave out the roles, and that was the reason why April Carrion did bad. It was because of the role that she was given, not necessarily her acting. But also, to my recollection, one of the biggest robberies in any main challenge was the week where they were selling, I believe, RuPaul's perfume. They were doing a perfume commercial, and Adore was paired with Laganja. Their commercial had no business winning, and even Michelle Visage was confused, and she made a comment like, Laganja was like, I'm surprised we won, and Michelle was like, yeah, me too. They had no business winning that challenge. It was obvious to everyone that Bianca and Trinity should have won. However, if Adore doesn't win that challenge, Bianca has 4 wins, she only has 2, and at the time only 1. So they kind of pushed Adore to the end, and also, in my opinion, Trinity won the lip sync against her. If not it being a double Shantae, I felt like Trinity should have won that. Even the lip sync against Jocelyn, if you watch it back, Jocelyn won that lip sync. And you have to remember too, they did a fan favorite vote, and Adore was named the #1 fan favorite of all time. Even to this day, I think if they did a vote, Adore would still be fan favorite. Adore was able to build a music career off of Drag Race because she was so beloved. And just like the others, I think that ignoring her being a serious contender for the crown, because she is a serious contender for the crown, because of her charm and her personality and her immense talent, she's probably the best singer that's been on Drag Race. Point blank in the period. But Adore's being a fan favorite was 100% what got her an invite back on All Stars, more than being a serious contender. And ultimately, that's what I'm looking at. The last one is Coco Montrese. And no shade to Coco. Coco was invited back because of Alyssa Edwards. They were 100% banking on Alyssa and Coco still beef, if you look at Coco's performance, she was the first queen to be eliminated on her fourth lip sync. She had to lip sync 4 times, and she made it all the way to the final 5. She only won one challenge. It was the roast. It was the first roast they ever did. However, I think that Coco's a fierce entertainer, and she definitely deserved her spot on All Stars without a doubt. It's just that when you looked at the 9 queens, Coco was probably the one that could have been cut. And when we saw the cast, we all knew Coco was probably the first one to leave before we even saw the challenge, just because Coco was very memorable in her season. And trust and believe, All Stars 3, I would have put her there. But Coco was probably the one that we could have swapped out for Ben de la Creme. Even though I do think Coco being there was right. But I love Coco. She was my favorite queen. She was one of my favorite queens from season 5. I was happy to see her there, just like I was happy to see Roxy there. But everyone knew the reason she was invited back was because of her beef with Alyssa, and they wanted to continue that from season 5, even though they didn't end up having any beef, and so they cut her. I think that honestly she should have lied, and her and Alyssa should have continued their beef on the show, because I think they would have kept her around longer, the producers, and I don't think they would have put her in the bottom. To be honest with you, I didn't understand her getting eliminated first over Fifi, but I really think it's because Roxy was like, okay, me and Fifi have a similar storyline of wanting to rebuild our character, so I'm going to give her a pass. But I love Coco, and I think Coco should be back. I think that Coco deserved a second chance over Ginger, in my opinion. I want to see her back on a future season at some point. She is the lip sync assassin. She's probably one of the most formidable lip syncers of all time. And in that respect, I do understand her being back because you needed that lip sync assassin thing. But I'm going to put her in the some star category just because I felt like on her season, she was a major character, just like Chanel was. However, she was not a serious contender for the crown, and she was not a fan favorite. An all-star for sure, but when compared to the other people on the cast, she was just at a lower rate of like, oh, we need her back. Like, if you get what I'm saying, my point is she deserved her spot. I was happy she was on All Stars 2. It's just she was not a serious contender or a fan favorite on her season, just like Chanel. So far so good with these all-star rankings. Pretty everyone has stayed above the wildcard category. So far, everyone that has been invited back for all-stars up till that point deserved in some way, some form, their spot on all-stars in some capacity. But it's going to get better, trust and believe, because now we're starting to go into All-Stars 3, where the level of All-Star is questionable. I felt like after the first 2 seasons, now we're starting to be like, I don't really know about that. I'm going to quickly check in with the audience really quick to see how y'all are doing before we continue on with our ranking. Detox won as Clucky the Cock. Yes, she did. No problem, Austin. Katya was a fan favorite. Oh, 100%. Yeah, she won the makeover challenge. She was strong, always put down and underestimated. Agreed. Fan favorite is a more desirable ranking career-wise than serious contender. 100%. I think that being a fan favorite is 100% more desirable than being a serious contender. I mean, honestly, the most successful queens from Drag Race are not the winners. I think had Trixie not won All Stars 3, she still would be just as successful. I mean, all of these queens on the all-star list, whether they won or lost, are the most successful queens from Drag Race ever. So let me check in. We got 11 people watching. It's strange that with Drag Race, it became a bad thing that drag queens were mean people. 100%. I mean, that was always the point. Like, reading is fundamental, literally. But yeah, anyway, we are going to continue on with season 3. So I'm going to quickly take a picture to keep track of this. Just to check in with y'all, I hope that y'all can give me a subscription. If you like what I'm doing, hit subscribe. We do live streams like this all the time. Some new stuff is coming to the channel. I also have a Twitch. Same thing as my channel name. Give this video a like, share it with your friends, and hopefully we can have some more people join the Slightly Bitta family. Anyway, continuing on with All Stars 3. Now, All Stars 3... this was kind of where All Stars was getting a little questionable. I felt like everyone that was on All Stars 3 had some type of business of being there. It just was getting to the point where it's like, okay, why are you here? And it was kind of obvious who was going to go home relatively early, but we're going to continue on. Okay, so first is Trixie Mattel. Y'all are going to hate me for this. I don't think Trixie was an all-star. I don't, and I'm probably going to get disliked for it. I don't really care. On her, and Trixie said it herself. On her season, she was not an all-star. What made Trixie an all-star was the reception that she got after the season. Trixie blew the fuck up within a span of 1 to 2 years. I remember her getting eliminated at episode 4 was probably the best thing that ever happened to her, because up to that point Trixie was kind of like, oh, we like her, she's the weird queen, she's quirky. What really blew up Trixie's popularity was her unfair elimination. When she got eliminated by Pearl, when Trixie won that lip sync hands down, Pearl was just doing this. They called her Pearl Smash. Like, her lip syncing was terrible. Pearl had no business winning 2 lip syncs in any capacity. But this was kind of where Drag Race was really upping their favoritism, and it was really apparent. But that got people talking about Trixie. There was a campaign to have her brought back to the competition, even though the show's pre-filmed. I was maybe part of that campaign, not gonna lie. But Trixie blew up after that, and I don't. Okay, whatever. But by that point, Trixie had and she also had just been booked for the Trixie and Katya show, which was kind of their step into being on TV. But also at this point, if you watch Trixie's documentary, her and Katya kind of fell out because Katya went into remission. But Trixie was in the top 6 of her season, so placement-wise she did well, but this is only because she was brought back later in the competition. I believe she was the first queen that got a second chance on their original season that was brought back for All-Stars. I could be incorrect. But... Oh, I guess if you count Shangela as well. But Trixie was unquestionably going to be brought back at some point. I think she's the first example of a queen that was brought back not because of their performance on the show, but more so because of what they've done outside of the show. She was more so an all-star on the outside than an all-star on the inside, because on the show she won 1 challenge, and it was in tandem with Pearl. And to be honest with you, I don't think she really deserved that win. I thought that Katya and Mrs. Kasha Davis did better, but I think that they were bringing Trixie back no matter what. I mean, they even brought her in the workroom first. Like... Come on now. I think Rue had this playing on her mind the entire time. But Trixie is going in that fan favorite category just because she was brought back because she was a fan favorite. And there was no doubt that she was going to be there. And when people saw the cast, they named her as the winner. They were like, Trixie's winning hands down, even though when you look at the others, they did a lot better on their season. Kennedy Davenport, serious contender. Now, Kennedy was not gonna win season 7 just because she was hated by the audience, just like Ginger was. The entire bitter old lady brigade was hated on, so much so that even Jasmine Masters, who today is a huge fan favorite, at the time got more death threats than any other queen in the history of the show, which is so weird to think about because of how much of a fan favorite she is today. But no, Kennedy was cut at the final 4 because Rue knew that she was not going to be a fan favorite. They already had this idea that she was not going to be the favorite queen. To be honest with you, I felt like that Kennedy could have been on All-Stars too. That was how well she did in her season. She won 2 challenges. She is probably in the top 5 best lip syncers in the history of the show. Point blank in the period. All of the lip syncs that she lost the final 4 lip sync, which does not count. And even if it did, she shouldn't, out of the lip syncs, like, she did not lose that lip sync. And then she lost the final lip sync against Trixie, which does not count either. So, and then of course the fancy lip sync, which also, that was so stupid. They set her up to fail. But we could do a whole video about how the All-Star 5 lip sync for your legacies with the lip sync assassins were such bullshit and planned for certain queens to win and lose. But Kennedy deserved an all-star spot. In fact, deserved top 3 in season 7. I remember to this day that when I was watching season 7 in real time, my top 3 from, I want to say, the second or third week was Ginger, Kennedy and Katya. I was convinced that that would be the top three. And then when Violet and Pearl inched their way to the end, I was flabbergasted. But in looking back, I'm not surprised because Drag Race and the fandom do tend to favor the skinny young white queens. And I mean, shit, I don't have problems with skinny young white queens. I mean, shit, I'm skinny young and white. But it's obvious that the fandom and the show at the time favored, and I think even to this day, favors the skinny young white queens because they know audiences are going to relate to that because most of the audience are young, skinny, and white. And if not, that's who they tend to be attracted to, which is so weird to think about, but that's why Pearl made it to top 3 of season 7. No shade to Pearl, but we could do a whole video on that topic as well. But yeah, Kennedy was a serious contender, and it's a shame that she never has gotten the favorite status, even though I do think she has gotten legend status. BB Sahara Benet, so this is hard to put in because BB won her season. She was, to me, BB was not thrown in there because she was a serious contender, a fan favorite, or anything but. BB was a wild card, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that BB was kind of the gag of the season. BB was the person that was thrown in there to shake things up and be like the, oh my gosh, what pick? I felt like with season 2, nobody was kind of like an, oh my gosh, what pick? I think maybe Tatiana was the closest thing, but I felt like Tatiana was more so a fan favorite than a what the fuck pick because she did well in her season and it was arguable to bring her back, but BB had already won. And at that end, we see All-Stars as a second chance for people that did not win. So I'm going to put BB in the wild card category. Not because I don't think she was a serious contender, and people did love BB on her original season, but BB at this time had been out the Drag Race game for almost 10 years. I believe at this point it was 8 or 9 years. BB was a wild card 100%, even though she was a serious contender. I mean, she was only in the bottom once, but also you have to remember that when we were looking at this season, nobody thought BB was going to win because she already won. Like, no one thought she'd get a second crown, even though spoilers were saying that it was a double crowning with Trixie and BB. Yeah, we had spoilers of a double crowning way back when. But yeah, I thought BB and Trixie were going to win in tandem at the time. And to be honest with you, I felt like BB should have been top 2 with Shangela, but we could do a whole video on that as well. Next up is Shangela. The thing with Shangela is, again, I don't know where to place her. I don't know whether to put her in the serious contender or the fan favorite. Shangela is one of the most successful queens outside of Drag Race, and just like Trixie, there was kind of this theme of, oh, success outside of Drag Race. But Shangela was both a fan favorite and also did really well on season 3. Season 2, she was the first boot, but I would say what brought her back was more so her favoritism than how well she did on the show. Because on the show, she had to lip sync 3 times. But her personality was what pushed her over the edge. So I would put Shangela in the fan favorite category more than anything. Morgan McMichaels. Now, Morgan McMichaels is another weird case because when we were thinking about what All-Stars 3 would be, everyone had Morgan on their list. I didn't understand it, but it was just Morgan because I think everyone was thinking at the time, okay, now we need to have a season 2 queen every season. We need to have some sort of old school queen, and people were not thinking of 1. And at that point, 3 already had so much representation from season 1 of All-Stars that there was really no one else to seriously consider until All-Stars started like basically scraping the bottom of the barrel. But Morgan McMichaels, I would put in the some star category along with Chanel and Coco because she wasn't a wild card. Everyone expected her to be there. I think even season 2 people had referenced her possibly being there. But Morgan, she won a challenge. She's part of the infamous I am from Chicago fight in Untucked. She was a big character, one of the biggest, but her performance on the show was not that great. She was in the bottom 2 times. She had one of the tightest lip syncs of all time against Sonique, which, to be honest, that lip sync is way underrated for how great it was and how close it was. But she wasn't the fan favorite. She wasn't the biggest character on that season, and she didn't do the best. I mean, she was one of the earlier boots, but Morgan definitely did have a right to be on that cast, and she was an all-star and was deserving of her spot uh, overall. Ben de la Creme. The thing with Dela is, again, serious contender or fan favorite. Dela is a miscongeniality. I believe the only miscongeniality of this season, if I'm correct. Yeah, which was weird at the time because, but then again, like, it was so early in, like, All Stars, like, it was only one season had passed since they had miscongeniality, like, all the miscongenialities back. And if you don't know, Valentina was supposed to be on this cast. Shay and Trinity were supposed to be here. But with Dela came into this as a serious contender because on her season she did really well. She was in the top for a lot of challenges. She won 2 challenges before she left. Rue even saved her because she had done so well that she was like, nah, you need to stay longer. But she was a big fan favorite. But she also fell off the face of the earth after her season was done. People expected her in season 2 of All Stars, and so did I, but apparently she turned All Stars 2 down. Uh, I dare to say that Dela was more of a serious contender rather than a fan favorite. Even though I do think she was a fan favorite, one of the biggest. People were so upset by her elimination, but I would put her more in the serious contender category because she just did really well in her season. And when you look at the fan favorites, most of them did decent to okay, whereas Dela was a serious contender. Like, oh, I got a text from my friend. I'll check her. I'll text her again later. But oh, she's asking me about her umbrella. I'll text her in a minute. Let me actually text her right now. I checked my car there, but I can check again. Sorry, doing a YouTube live. Sorry, I'm a good friend. I don't like to leave people without messaging them back. But yeah, what was I talking about? Oh, Dela. Dela actually was a serious contender to win. You know, like Dela, had she, to be honest with you, I didn't feel like Dela should have been in the bottom for the Jules thing. In fact, a lot of people don't think she should have been in the bottom. It probably should have been Courtney and Darian lip syncing, and Courtney would have went home. But Dela really could have won the crown in season 6, had she won that challenge or just been in the top. But again, Bianca was always winning that season. But I'm gonna put Dela in the serious contender category. Then we have Aja. The thing with Aja was that Aja was invited back because of the reunion of season 9. They intended to put Aja in a cast with Valentina again because they had beef. In fact, Aja was invited back for All Stars 4, which is ridiculous and crazy. But yeah, Aja was literally, they were trying to get Aja on any season with Valentina because they wanted to continue that storyline. But of course, Valentina declined, so they were just stuck with Aja. Aja ended up doing fairly well. She gained a major audience, but at the time, Aja was kind of like a what the fuck pick. I'm not gonna. This is the problem. I don't know if I would put her in the Why Are You Here category or the wild card category. I don't think she's a some star because if you look at her performance on season 9, she's in the bottom twice. However, she had some major moments. She had the reunion, and she had the "You're perfect, you're beautiful, you look like Linda Evangelista" monologue. So she had a reason to be there. You can't put her in the "Why Are You Here" category because outside of her performance on the show, she was memorable. However, I don't think I can put her in the some star category just because, like, I don't know, she wasn't one of the major characters on the show outside of those 2 moments. I feel like really the only moments people remembered her for on her season was the reunion fight. The second episode the third episode, whatever it was, with the princess challenge where she flopped and she fought with Valentina. Other than that, there wasn't much to remember about Aja on the season because it was focused on the other queens rather than her. So I'm not sure. So I can't really put her in the same category as Chanel, Coco, and Morgan because the three of them were more so the second tier characters of the show rather than like the main character. Like they were in the more the recurring characters. Aja was not a recurring character. She was more of a guest star. So I'm gonna say that Aja's a wild card pick just because she was someone that improved a lot after the season and she was a fighter. Uh, but she did deserve to be there in some capacity. It's just that I kind of felt like Aja should have been an All Stars 4 or 5 situation rather than All Stars 3. But again, Shay turned it down, Trinity turned it down, Valentina turned it down. It's like this is kind of what they were stuck with. They needed someone from season 9 to warrant having another All-Star season, so I'm going to put her in a wild card. This has nothing to do with how she did on season 3. I'm thinking in the mindset of before season 3 of All-Stars and how she did on 9 and how the audience thought of her because I was part of the audience at that time. Chi Chi DeVayne, with Chi Chi, rest in peace. I love Chi Chi. She goes in fan favorite. Chi Chi did amazing on season 8. She was in the bottom twice. She was the lip sync assassin. She was in the top for a few challenges, and she was cut at the final 4. Arguably, I felt that Naomi should have been cut over Chi Chi. To be honest with you, I still don't fully understand why I was in the final, or Naomi was in the final 3 over Chi Chi. I felt like Chi Chi had the better story. Naomi kind of just won a single challenge and she did better towards the end of the competition, whereas Chi Chi throughout the competition she had a big story. But again, I think it was just that Chi Chi being cut at the 4 was more of a shocker, and it kind of just felt like a redo of season 7 just because her and Kennedy had the same story arc, as being the dancing divas and lip sync assassins. But Chi Chi was a huge fan favorite, and to be honest with you, had Cynthia Lee Fontaine not developed cancer, and her story not been out there, and her being so nice and so charming despite her short stay, I think Chi Chi could have won Miss Congeniality 100%. In fact, I was surprised that Chi Chi didn't win it because at that time fans were still voting for Miss Congeniality. I felt that Cynthia deserved it because Miss Congeniality is about who's the nicest, and Chi Chi did have moments where she argued with queens, and it is all about who is the most likable. But I was surprised Chi Chi didn't win Miss Congeniality or fan favorite. But she definitely was brought back for her personality and her likability more so than being a serious contender for the crown. Even though had she won a challenge or two, maybe she could have won. But it was always between Bob and Kim Chi. But it was always going to be Bob that won that season. Next is Milk. Milk is another one that like I can't complain about her being there because she was one of the bigger characters on season 6. It's just kind of a weirder choice. I feel like you put her in the wild card category. I felt really that season 3 was kind of a wild card season because it was all second tier all stars in my opinion. I felt like all of them kind of weren't the main stars of their season, but all had a big following. Even with season 6 and Dayla being one of the bigger characters, I felt like it was more so about Bianca and Adore. But yeah, Milk was a big fan favorite after her season, but she was more respected for what she did as a boy, as a drag queen, like an actual like female presenting drag queen. There wasn't a lot going on there, but I felt she was more of a wild card pick than a fan favorite or serious contender pick or even a some star pick. Then you have Thorgy Thor. And again, with Thorgy, the thing with Thorgy is that she's in the same category as Pandora Box. Throughout the season, she was kind of the Susan Lucci. She was always in the top, but never actually winning. And she always blamed it on Bob. But she was never a serious contender for the crown, was the thing. However, I don't really remember if she was a fan favorite. I do know that she was one of the people they were talking about giving Miss Congeniality to, but I feel like her reasoning for coming back is not her favoritism, but more so being a contender for the crown. It's hard though because I wouldn't put her in the some star category because she was one of the bigger characters on the season and she did really well. when you look at Chanel, Coco, and Morgan, they didn't do so well, but they were still a bigger character, a bigger personality. They did okay, but Thorgy did really well and arguably should have won more challenges. Like the Ruko Empire challenge, a lot of people argue she should have won that challenge. Um, I'm gonna put her in the serious contender category because going into the season, she was a serious contender for the crown. She was. It was actually a major surprise to people that Thorgy went home so early. I just wouldn't put her in the some star or fan favorite or a serious contender, but this is kind of where it gets a little harder to rank the queens. So that's All Stars 3. I'm going to do my little check in really quickly to see. Oh my god. I'm going to do my little check in really quickly to see how y'all are doing. Oh my god. I really hope that's not who I think it is. Let me see what y'all are talking about. God. Sorry y'all. I got a call again and I'm just so nervous that it's the person that I think it is. So, I just need a second to breathe. Hopefully it's not the person I'm thinking it is, but if it is, then I have a reason to go forward on something. Yeah, if y'all followed my other video, y'all know that I had a stalker and I just got a phone call from no caller ID. So I'm hoping that it is not them. If it is them, then I need to call the police again. But luckily, they don't know where I am. So, God, that's just stressful to think about. Anyway, we're going to ignore that and we're going to continue on. Okay. So, next is All Stars 4. I'm going to quickly take a timestamp of the video. Okay, so All Stars 4, we have Monet Exchange. Monet Exchange was a huge fan favorite on her season, and she did great. I mean, she kind of had a similar story to Raven, where she did really well. She did pretty great throughout the whole show, and it's just that at that point she had already lip synced 3 times, so she was bound to go home, and she just lost that lip sync. Had one or two things gone differently, I think she could have actually been a contender to win. I think that once she went home, um, I think once she went home, it kind of was like, okay, Aquaria is the next best thing. Really, season 10 was a weird season because I don't feel like there was anybody that there wasn't really anybody that had like an actual like chance of winning. Like it was all pretty even. I felt like Eureka was probably the biggest front runner of that season more than anybody else. But I don't know. I would I don't know where to put Monet between serious contender or fan favorite. It's kind of hard, but I would lean more towards serious contender just because of the queens from season 10, she was very popular, but I think her performance was more so what put her in there because at the time Cameron Michaels and Aquaria, it was like those people that were really like on people's like, oh my gosh, I want you to win, you know. Next was Trinity. Trinity is a serious contender for the crown. Trinity and Shay were the ones that people thought were going to win season 9, and if it wasn't for the lip sync for the crown, Trinity or Shay were winning that season. It was more so going to be Shay, even though I felt that Trinity did better. But coming into All Stars 4, a lot of people underestimated Trinity, which was really weird because Trinity did so great on season 9 and like arguably should have won. I'm actually surprised looking back that she didn't win, being that she's so great at lip syncing. But yeah, Trinity was coming in as a serious contender. In fact, I'm really trying to think whether I would put Monet. I'm actually going to put Monet in the fan favorite because I do think that her being a favorite was more so the reason why she was brought back. It's kind of hard with Monet though. I could put her in really any category. With Monique, Monique is a harder story just because with Monique, like, Monique wasn't a what the fuck pick, but at the same time, it was kind of like, oh, they invited her back. She was a big character. She had a story, but I feel like you put her in the some star category, and this is why. Monique did really well on the show. She was in the top a handful of times. She never won a challenge, and she was a big character. It's just that with the cast, she was not the biggest character. I actually felt like a lot of the best characters of season 10 got cut in the middle or relatively early, and that's why I think season 10 is one of the worst seasons of the show. But with Monique, uh, it was really weird seeing her invited back so soon, and I was really happy that she won, or not won, but did really well, because there was rumors that she was the first boot of the season. But yeah, I would put her in some star just because I feel like she fits in the same category as Chanel, Coco, and Morgan, where she had a story, she had a presence, she was memorable, but she was kind of more so like, like, I don't know, like, she wasn't an obvious choice. Naomi Smalls. Naomi is another. I'm gonna put some star. Naomi had a big, was well received by the audience. She wasn't a serious contender to win, but she kind of just was like fading into the background throughout most of season 8. It wasn't until the ending that she kind of came on strong, and I felt like the same thing happened with season 4 of All Stars. I felt like she did pretty well on All Stars 4, just like she did on season 8, but she was never a serious contender. She was never a fan favorite. I think that her audience definitely grew after season 4 of All Stars, but she's more of a some star than an all star. But I do think that she deserved her spot there. Then we get to Latrilla. With Latrilla, I feel like their inclusion could be a serious contender, fan favorite, or wild card. In this instance, they are the wild card pick. They were invited back to shake the game up. They were the first queens to be invited back after already being on All Stars. They were the gag of the season. They were even introduced later they were the last ones revealed after Rue already entered the room, just like BB. They were definitely invited back because they were the biggest fan favorites in Drag Race history at that point, and I think even today they're still the biggest fan favorites. And they were also they were the serious contenders coming into this cast, especially with this group of queens. But I'm gonna put them in the wild card category, and this is why I'm doing different. I'm including both their first All Star and the second All Star appearance because there's different reasons to invite queens. Their second time and their third time. With Valentina is fan favorite. The thing with Valentina is that she was a serious contender for the crown in season 9, but I think that whether she did poorly or she did great is irrelevant. She was a fan favorite through and through. She did she was, I mean, they even changed the name from Miss Congeniality to fan favorite. The fans were obsessed with her. It was terrible. Like, it was really weird how obsessed these fans were. They attacked Nina Benina Brown for winning the lip sync against her. They attacked anybody that went after Valentina in any sort of way. But yeah, she was definitely invited back for being a fan favorite more so than being a contender, even though she was a contender in her original season and in this season. Gia Gunn. Okay, with Gia Gunn, this is kind of where I don't know whether to put them in the Why Are You Here or the wild card. With Gia Gunn, there was a reason to bring her back. Gia Gunn was one of the most quotable queens on season 6. She had some great moments, but performance in the show, she was only in the top once. She didn't do that great. She was kind of a mid-season boot, but her drama that she brought, I'm gonna like put it in the same category as Milk, where I felt like, and I also feel like the reason for her inclusion was because they wanted trans representation on the show, because at this time Drag Race was being critiqued for their transphobic casting. Like, they were at the time not casting trans girls. Rue even said some bullshit on Twitter about how being trans gives you an advantage in the chat in the competition, which is so ridiculous. He compared it to like taking steroids. So I felt putting Gia in was kind of a move by production to be inclusive. And I do think that Gia being on that season helped it a lot. And I think that they should have brought her back during the lip sync for your life thing. I think it would have made the season a lot more interesting. Uh, with Gia, though, I can't put her in some star just because I feel like I can, though, because she didn't do well, but neither did these other queens. Let me see what her placement was on season 6. I feel like she got top 10, but I don't exactly remember. So I'm going to check one more time to make sure that I'm not incorrect. She got 10th in she was the runner up of The Switch, which is like a Drag Race spinoff, but she got 10th place. Okay. But you know what? Morgan also got out pretty early. I don't know. I don't feel like within the span of the competition she was an all-star, but she was a memorable character. Um, you know what? I'm gonna put her in the wild card because I feel like she wasn't a second level character of the show. She was kind of like a low tier villain that got booted pretty early. So I do put her in the wild card category. So I'm gonna put her there. Pheromone, why are you here? Okay, this is the first queen. I think that for looking back at it, I think I gave the show a harder time than I should have, because looking at this, the fact that it took us 3 All-Star seasons to get to someone that really had no business being there is pretty impressive. You have Pheromone. Why are you here? Okay, Pheromone was brought in because Aja was already used in the previous All-Star season, and they wanted someone to have drama with Valentina. That was really the point of having Pheromone back, because Pheromone was the other queen that had drama with Valentina at the reunion. So the fact that you were invited back solely for having one argument with one person is not a good look. I mean, with Coco Montrese, at least her being invited back because of Alyssa had some merit. Coco was fierce on her season. She won a challenge. She did decent. She was a lip sync assassin and a big personality. Farrah, I would say the most all-star thing about Farrah was her following on Instagram. But despite her following on Instagram, she wasn't exactly a fan favorite. She was followed on Instagram because of her makeup and her beauty and all that. And it's just, I don't know, Farrah was really a what the fuck kind of pick. She wasn't a wild card because she didn't really have a presence on her season other than whining all the time. She didn't do well in any capacity. I don't even think she was in the top at all in her season. If she was, it was a team challenge. I could be wrong, but no, Farrah was never even really in the top. She was in the bottom a lot. She lip synced twice. But no, Farrah had no business being on All Stars. There was no reason to have her there. Like, honestly, truly, there wasn't a reason other than her beef with Valentina, which at that point was swept under the rug, but kind of brought back up. She was never going to win. Like, I'm really not trying to pound too hard on Farrah because I do like her, and she was very self-aware, but yeah, Farrah had no business being on any All-Star season at all. Even a second chance, I couldn't see it. Jasmine Masters is 100% a wild card pick. Jasmine Masters is very similar to Trixie Mattel. She was invited back because of her fame on the internet. And what's crazy is that she was invited back before the anti-oop thing blew up. Jasmine was big before anti-oop even happened. Anti-oop is probably what Jasmine is known for today. She won so many awards for it, and it's such a commonly used thing now, and Jasmine's responsible for it. But I mean, Jasmine is one of the most recognizable queens from the show, and it's not even because of her performance on the show. She did terrible on the show. But outside the show, I watch Jasmine Masters on a regular basis. Her videos on YouTube, severely underrated. There's no reason why those videos don't have more views, at least 1 million per video. But Jasmine, I actually wish that she would have waited for All Stars 5. I think with All Stars 5, she could have done a lot better. I think that All Stars 5 should have just been a second chance type of deal. I think Jasmine actually would have fit best with Season 6 of All Stars. If she came back with Season 6, she would have fit in with that group perfectly. All the drama and chaos and shit. Jasmine was not a contender to win. She was not a fan favorite until after years after her season was already over. She was kind of a wild card pick, like a gag, I would say. But yeah, Jasmine was definitely a wild card pick, which is interesting because I was saying that All Stars 3 was kind of the wild pick season, but if you look at this cast, half of them ended up on the wild card selection. But I think that Latrice and Manila were contenders, and they were only wild cards because they were the gag at the time. But yeah, Jasmine is definitely a wild card. So that's All Stars 4. And now we're kind of building up the lower tier, which is a little concerning. I'm going to quickly check in with the chat really quickly to see how y'all are doing. Thank God YouTube has that feature. Hi TR3NT, welcome to the channel. Oh, Tay Nation. Hi Tay Nation. Happy to see you here. Deshaun said choices. I'm weak. Aw, Keisha, I love you. Yeah, I don't know. That kind of weirded me out, but hopefully this won't come again. I'm hoping. I shouldn't have put my face in the video. That's probably how they knew that it was me. But yeah, hopefully. Agreed, Thorgy was my fave. I like the rivalry and both Bob. Yeah, 100%. Okay, so we're going to move on to... Let me take a screenshot of that. We're going to move on to Season 5. Okay, All Stars 5 is, in my opinion, the worst season of Drag Race. All Stars or regular season. The cast is probably the worst All-Star cast ever. There were a lot of queens here that it was really obvious that they were brought back not because of their merit or being a fan favorite, but because of their relationship with WoW Presents. I'm talking about Mariah. I'm talking about Mayhem. I'm talking about India. I'm talking about Blair. This was just a really, to me, the abortion season of Drag Race. Not to be offensive, but this was the season where we knew the top 3 before we even got into episode 1. As soon as we saw the cast, we knew Shay was winning, and we knew that Juju and Cracker were making final 3. No question about it. The only queen that could have possibly shaken this up was Alexis Mateo, but no. This was kind of like a rehash of All Stars 4. This was the first season where there really was no gag at all in any form. At least with the other seasons there was. Season 1 had the pairs. Season 2 had the eliminate each other. 3 had BB being there. 4 had Latrilla. This season, I guess the shock of this season was the lip sync assassin thing, but that was just like kind of a weird concept that they were thinking of, and no one was really that gagged by it. But let's go through this cast. Okay, Shea Coulee, fan favorite, but more so a serious contender. We saw this. We knew Shea was winning. Shea should have won Season 9. To me, this was kind of like the Redemption Island season of Survivor, where that season was literally designed for Boston Rob to get a win. Like, it was kind of like his charity game. To me, this was Shea's charity game. No one was going to eliminate Shea because they knew the backlash was going to be harsh. The only queens that did it were the ones that did not care. Mayhem and Alexis. Shea was always going to outperform a lot of the queens on this because most of these queens that were invited back did not do well on Drag Race their first time around. And if they did, like, Shea was going to outperform them. It's just this season was designed for Shea to win. Okay, with Jujubee, the thing with Jujubee is I don't think I'd classify her as a wild card because at this point it was acceptable for All Stars 1 queens to be brought back. So she no longer was the wild card. I'm going to say that she was brought back as a fan favorite because also at this time she still had no wins under her belt in either of her seasons, and she just was a huge fan favorite and an obvious person to bring back from All Stars 1. She was the next succession, so I'd put her in the fan favorite category more so than being a serious contender or a some star or a wild card. Cracker was a fan favorite, but more so a serious contender. Cracker was kind of a hit or miss with people. I love her. She's my Jewish icon. Obviously, I'm always going to root for the Jew, and I love that she bared that on her arm. She bared that and did not care, and I don't think people talk about that enough because people don't really care about Jewish representation, which kind of disappoints me. But I loved seeing a Jew like her do so well in the competition both times she competed. But she was a serious contender, and honestly, I was surprised that she came back because I remember she had said that she was not going to want to come back. So yeah, I loved so Cracker was a serious contender, and honestly got robbed in her season of winning more challenges. And I think had she survived that lip sync against Cameron, could have possibly won the season. Blair, we're gonna put you right here. Blair, well, I don't understand why Blair was invited back. I think the only thing with Blair that was memorable was her looking so young and her admitting to her telling her story about being raped in college, and that's not exactly the best thing to be remembered for. I think it was I thought it was beautiful, and I remember crying when she admitted to that, but there just was no real reason to invite her back. I mean, she was in the top in most of the challenges that she was on. I think that if they were doing a second chance season, sure, she's someone that you could call. But there just was nothing that stood out about Blair in season 10. There were plenty of other queens to pick from that were early boots. I would say Mayhem would be one of them. The Vixen, Monique, but it's just, I don't know. Blair was just such a weird choice for season 10, but whatever. Alexis Mateo. Okay, with Alexis, I don't really know where to put her because in season 1 of All Stars, she was like, people were like undercrediting her. People were like, even the contestants were specifically like shitting on her when she was doing really well. So I don't really know where to put her because she wasn't a fan favorite per se. She just was one of the most memorable, and like people really liked her, and she was a legendary queen along with Juju. So it was obvious to bring her back. I just don't know where to put her because I don't feel like you can call her a some star, and I don't know if you can call her a serious contender. But I'm gonna say that her and Juju were brought back because the audience loved them so much from All Stars 1, and that was the reason to bring her back, because I can't rate her as some star. I can't. Like, you can't. India Farah, why are you here? India is another person that was not invited back because of their own merit, but because of beef with another contestant. In this case, Derek Barry. And I do understand it, but it's just, really, it flopped. I mean, Derek was only there for one episode, so we got one episode of beef, and then we're left with India, who just did terrible the rest of the competition. India, I completely forgot about her. The only thing memorable about her was her appearances at Drag Race finales, where they had her being lifted up by Mimi. That was probably her most iconic moment, to be honest with you. Like, it did her some service coming back and making her moment be a snaky liar about Alexis. But no, it's just India was like a really what the fuck pick, because she had no memorable moments on season 3. I guess maybe when her and Phoenix wore the same outfit in the entrance, and her being picked up by Mimi, but it's like it did not warrant a second appearance. It's just there were so many memorable queens on season 3. She fell in the cracks, and like, I don't know, her being invited back was such a weird choice, and it clearly was just because of her drama with Derek. I mean, she even shit talked the show. It was just really weird. Okay, Mayhem. Mayhem, to me, I don't even know if you can classify her as a wild card. I feel like with a wild card, it has to be someone that stood out. Tammy Brown. Maybe I'm first. BB, a previous winner. Milk. Latrilla. Gia Gunn. Jasmine. Mayhem did not really stand out. I feel like, but I also don't feel comfortable putting her in the some star category because she won a challenge. I guess maybe she kind of had a Morgan McMichael story, but she didn't do well enough to warrant a second appearance. But if I had to place her somewhere, I guess I'd put her in the some star category because she did have a story. She did win the first challenge, but she kind of fell off. Like, she wasn't really that memorable, at least to me. But I understood why she was invited back. But also I don't. Like, why was she invited back? I feel like it was just because of her reputation and because of her relationship with WoW Presents. Like, that's just how I feel. But I don't think I can rationally put her in Why Are You Here, because she did win a challenge and she was one of the characters in the beginning. But it's hard because it's like I'm putting her in the same category as these other 5 queens that made it much further, had much more of a story, and had much more of a character. But if I had to put her somewhere, that's just what makes the most sense. Because she's not a wild card in any sort of fashion. Mariah, I love Mariah. She's one of my favorites. But why are you here? She didn't really have any standout moments on season 3. She was just kind of like a fun character. She was brought, I think what really brought her back was her relationship with production. She got mentioned a lot. She hosted reunions for the show. She was on Drag U. She had her own show in WoW Presents. That was really why she was brought back, but she wasn't a fan favorite. She wasn't any of this stuff, so it's just like, why were you here? You know what I'm saying? I was happy she was there. I like Mariah, but why are you here? Angina is a serious contender. Angina was, I don't know why she wasn't brought back sooner. It was all apparently part of her schedule, but Angina was someone that people saw coming back the first All Stars, and it's just she kept on being passed up. So Angina was a serious contender. In fact, she could have won her season had she won the lip sync against BB, or had it been a double Shantae. But Angina was a serious contender. Derek Barry, with Derek Barry, I'm putting her in the some star category, which is so weird that she's in the same category as Mayhem. But she was not a fan favorite. She wasn't a serious contender. She kind of was like the villain of the season, and she was a major character, but her run on the show, she wasn't a fan favorite, and she wasn't ever a serious contender to win. She did well in challenges, but it was always between Bob and Kim. It was all, and even Thorgy and Chi Chi were above her. So I would put Derek in the some star category. I do think that she deserved her spot on All Stars though. And that's the end of season 5. As you can see, season 5 had a really lackluster cast. I thought that Shay, Cracker, Angina, Juju, and Alexis all were all-stars, but the rest, it's questionable. It's questionable. So that's the end of All-Stars 5. I'm going to quickly check in with the YouTube chat, see how y'all are doing, and then we're going to move on to our final category. Yeah, y'all haven't really said anything new. I hope you guys are doing well. Okay, final category. Ooh. Sorry, I wanted to check in on the YouTube thing. Okay, final thing to talk about is All Stars 6. To me, this is really the cast where I felt like season 5 was the cast where we're like, okay, now it's not doing well on Drag Race that brings you back. It's as long as you were on Drag Race, you can be back for All Stars. But with this cast, I felt like they picked people that all were confrontational. If you look at this group, everybody here showed in some fashion that they are confrontational. Everyone here was in some sort of fight. Everyone here had some type of moment of controversy. I'm really excited for this cast. And I talked about it in my season 6 like preview, how I felt and who deserved to be an all-star or not, but I'm going to talk about it again. With Akira, the thing with her is that she was under edited, and it was obvious that had she not made it to the final, they would not have given her as much screen time as they did. I felt like they did her a disservice. I thought she was fantastic, and she was a dark horse for no reason. She did really well. Like, the fact that she was labeled a dark horse, even though she was winning a lot, and never really in the bottom, other than once, and then when her team did bad, like, Akira was a serious contender for the crown. And the problem is that they didn't give her enough personality to where she was actually going to win. Because Brooklyn was like the polished queen, and she was the one that they were painting as the front runner. And I think had Brooklyn not been there, Akira would have been painted as the front runner. But also Akira was not a fan favorite. So it's hard because she did really well, but she wasn't a fan favorite, and she was never the front runner or someone that was actually going to win. So oddly enough, I'm going to put her in the some star category. I do think she's an all-star, and I do think she was one of the people that they needed to pick. However, I'm going to put her in the some star category. Eureka is going in the serious contender category. Eureka is definitely not a fan favorite, even though there are some people that love her. Eureka had a lot of controversy postseason. I'm actually surprised that she ended up back. I think it's just that production and Rue love her so much, but she had a lot of controversy after her beef with the Vixen. Clips of her saying the N-word resurfaced, but a lot of people love Eureka, and she arguably should have won season 10 and did really well on the season. So That she falls in the serious contender category for sure. Ginger Minge. Okay, with Ginger Minge, her first time around, all star, but coming back on the heels of not doing so well, I would put her in the some star category, just because I think that her appearance on 2 brought her down to a whole other level to where people don't even see her as a serious contender anymore. I feel like she was brought back because she did have a presence on season 2 of All Stars, and she really did well her first time around. But she definitely is not a fan favorite, and I don't think going into the season people see her as a serious contender if she were to be brought back. But I do think she's a serious contender with this cast. Jan, okay, here's the thing with Jan. I really don't get why she's here. I don't feel like I can put her in the fan favorite because she has a lot of fans, but she's not a fan favorite, really. I mean, the fan favorite was really Gigi and Jada and, excuse me, Jackie and Heidi. Like, Jan was not the favorite of that season. She's kind of a what the fuck pick. I wouldn't even put her in the wild card category just because she's not really a wild card. She's just kind of like a why are you here type of thing. I think that her iconic moment was her crack or the face crack of the century when she didn't win, but it's like that's really it. Other than that, I can't really remember much about her other than, I mean, the face crack and slamming the shade button. Like, other than that, she didn't really have any moments. So I'm sorry to Jan fans, but I'm not feeling the Jantasy. Why are you here? Jiggly Caliente, I'm putting in fan favorite. I'm actually surprised it took them this long to bring her back. I think had Jiggly done well and not listened to Fifi, she could have been in Dita. I think she could have been in Dita's place, making top 5, because she was a huge fan favorite. She had a big personality. She was a big player. The thing is that I feel like I can't put her in the some star category because she had a big fan following. She was a fan favorite. But she also didn't do as well as some of the other queens on the season. But then again, other queens were bigger favorites than her, but she had one of the biggest personalities. I don't know. You know what? Now that I think about it, I would put her in the some star list, even though I do think her personality is what brought her up so much, and she was one of the biggest characters of the season. I feel like, again, she's in the same category as a Chanel, a Coco, a Morgan, because she was out relatively early, but I would put Jiggly in the some star category. Sonique. Okay, with Sonique, here's the thing. On her season, nothing memorable. The only memorable thing is her lip sync and her coming out as trans. Other than that, she was not very memorable in season 2 at all. She kind of was there, and then she left. Post-season, she's gotten kind of a fan following. I don't know if I can put her in the Why Are You Here, but I don't know if I can put her... I can't put her in serious contender. I can't put her in fan favorite. I can't put her in some star. So the only options left are wild card and Why Are You Here? The problem is that she's not a wild card. She's not like the crazy what the fuck pick that you throw in there, like a Wii Fit trainer in Smash Bros. Wii U. But I get why she's here. The trans representation, she'll be the old school queen. She's been fierce outside of the show, but I'm sorry, I have to put her in the Why Are You Here? I don't think she's the lowest of the low. It's just that, like, if there was not like 6 or 7 all-star seasons at this point, I don't think she would be back. But I do get why she's there, but it's like why are you here? Pandora Box, it's hard because she was a favorite her first time around. This is really a second chance type of deal. I'm going to say that she's a some star. And the reason why is because she's not really a wild card, but actually no, she is kind of a wild card. But really, when you compare her to the other people on here, no, she's not. Like, it was not unobvious that she'd be brought back after her run on the first All-Star. I mean, more people expected her back sooner. I'm going to put her in some star because I think her personality on her first season and then her appearance on the first episode of All Stars 1 is what got her here. Raja O'Hara is a wild card. Raja was put in here to start drama. And again, I think Scarlet Envy was put here so her beef with Raja would continue. She was a huge character on season 11, even though she went out at ninth place. But you need to remember, she went out 9 out of 15. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. She outlasted 6 other queens. She was the 7th boot, which on a normal season of Drag Race would be final 6, final 7. So I think that she did not do good. She was never in the top. She lip synced 4 times. But she is definitely a wild card pick. She was the villain of that season, which is crazy to say because she was out so early. But Raj is definitely the wild card pick. Scarlet Envy, why are you here? I think Scarlet is probably the least deserving queen that has ever been brought back. Maybe over Farrah or India, maybe, but it's just she won one challenge and it was in tandem with Evie, and she did really well on it. But other than that, she did bad every other week. She was not a big personality. I think what really was her shining moment was the reunion when everyone read her to filth because she was so unlikable on the show. No one cared for her behind the scenes. But it's just there's nothing about her that warrants another appearance. No one was clamoring, I want Scarlet Envy back. The only people that wanted her back were the ones that wanted to fuck her. Let's keep it $150. The only people that wanted her back were the ones that wanted to have sex with her. Am I lying or am I not? Who here is loving her? Oh, the world wants me and the feeling is mutual. Like, I don't understand why she's trying to make that a thing. Like, it's just so weird. Is it a quote? Like, is she referencing something? I can't even tell. I don't know. But Scarlet Envy is just like it's like, why? Like, there's 4 season 11 queens. I felt like they could have ditched her and it would have been fine. But again, I think she was brought here because she's going to start drama. She's going to start arguing with people. She's going to start beef. But no one's going to be rooting for her, and she has no chance of winning this season at all. No. She's not... whatever. Okay, Serena Chacha is obviously a wild card pick. To me, Serena's kind of like the Mimi I'm First, because Mimi I'm First was out third. At least Mimi did good in the first 2 challenges, though. But Serena did terrible both weeks she was there. It's just Serena, despite being the second one out, is one of the most memorable queens from that season. And we're talking about a season with legendary queens, where the entire top 6 is legendary and iconic. Like, the entire top 6, save the winner, was brought back for All Stars 2, the first chance that they got. Like, and Serena is the first queen since those 5 season 5 girls to be brought back. She's the first season 5 girl since All Stars 2, which is crazy. And she was second boot. Serena is most definitely a wild card. And again, I think this is the first season with a theme where it's all people that start arguments or have been in arguments, and Serena is going to bring the drama, whether she's there for 1 episode or all the episodes. I've heard she's only there for 1 episode. I think she'll be the first one out, even without the spoilers. But Serena is a wild card, 100%. Okay, Silky Nutmeg Ganache. Silky definitely has a fan following. She's definitely one of the most polarizing queens. But Silky was a contender to win. Whether you like it or not, was a serious contender to win. She was definitely saved in the competition, but she did really well in most of the challenges. She won 2 challenges. She was only in the bottom 1 time, and even though it was one of the worst lip syncs in Drag Race history, and in my opinion should have been a double elimination, save the fact that they had done, both Nina and her had done so well in the competition. Silky just actually could have won that crown. I think even with the fan reception, could have won had she just won that lip sync. I think that had she done just a little better than Brooklyn, they would have loved Evie and Silky final 2. And I think Evie might have won just because of her fan reception and how she did in the final lip sync. But I do think that Silky could have possibly won the crown. And she is a serious contender. She's a very great at Drag Race. So I'm putting her in the serious contender category. Trinity K. Bonet. Okay, Trinity is going in the some star category, and this is why. Trinity is in the same gear as Coco, Chanel, Morgan, all those people. She was a huge character on the show from minute 1. Her story, I mean, she came out as HIV, just like Angina. She was the second queen to ever do that, HIV positive. She honestly should have won at least one of those challenges that she did. She did amazing. She was very undercredited on her season. She was kind of the underdog. I think had a door not been there, Trinity would have taken her place as the underdog. And what people forget is that had Trinity not been eliminated that episode of the talk show, she would have easily made top 3. Easily. Look at the rest of the challenges. The makeover would have killed it. Look at all the all the design challenges that she did. Would have killed it. Then the next challenge after that was the wedding challenge. She would have killed that one. At least been in the top 3 at least. Next challenge was the crystal ball, whatever the hell it was, the jewel ball, the gem ball. Obviously she would have done great at that too. I mean, we only got to see her. She makes her own drag. Almost everything that she wore that season, she made on her own. Really think about that. She would have at worst been safe. At worst, I think that she could have won that challenge. To be honest with you, I think had she rightfully won that lip sync, which I think that she should have, had she rightfully won that lip sync, she makes it to the final 4, if not final 3. Because I think that had she beaten Adore, she would have been in the top. I think that whoever was lip syncing against Jocelyn, I don't know who would have went home, but she would have at least made to final 4. Trinity is a contender to win. I see her going very far, maybe even winning. But on her season, she was just a major character that went home midway, really close to the end, but like close, late midway, I would say. But yeah, Trinity is a some star, but I'm just saying, even though it's labeled some star, these queens are all stars, and they were deserving of being brought back. I'd say maybe Mayhem not, but they all had reasons to be brought back. That's why it feels so weird to have Mayhem in this category. Like, I feel like I low-key want to change her, because it's just like, she doesn't fit in with this group, but it's like the bare minimum of what a some star would be. And then last is Jara Sophia. With Jara Sophia, I'm putting her in the fan favorite category just because she was a fan favorite. She was. And I guess Pandora could be in that category as well. Okay, maybe I should move Pandora to the fan favorite. I'm going to put Pandora in the fan favorite just because she was a fan favorite even after All Stars 1. But yeah, Jara is like a legend, like fan favorite. So I feel pretty good about this ranking. I think this is pretty good. So that's how I rank the All-Star 6 people. I don't really feel like I can move anybody. As far as ranking them within the groups, that is going to get a little hairy, and I don't feel like I want to do it, to be honest with you. I think I'm just going to leave it as is. But you can move it around however you want. I have the link. If you were to want to do this on your own, I'm going to quickly put that in the YouTube chat for y'all. There you go. Y'all can do it if you want to. But yeah, this is how I rank it. Let me quickly check the timestamp. Okay, so yeah, this is my ranking. As you can see, serious contender is for the most part queens from the first 3 All-Star incarnations. As we got further, we kind of lost that. Same with the fan favorite. As we got further in the All-Star, these people are like, it's like kind of, why are you here? However, despite this, I do think that the All-Star cast, with save for All-Stars 5, like, pretty much they all got people that were deserving of a second go-around. It's just really the bottom category where I think that even the bottom category, Sonique warranted a second chance because it has been so long and she is a completely different person. It did warrant a second time around, but besides her, it's like that bottom category, like we did not need to see any of you again. Maybe Mariah, maybe Jan, but like I don't know. But for the but also every single queen, from Serena Chacha to Alaska, every single queen on this list is fierce. Okay, I guess to make it better, from Chad, who's number 1, to Scarlett, who's at the bottom, every single queen on this list is an immense talent. They are all talented. You cannot base a queen's talent based on their performance on a show, whether you like them or not. They all are fierce-ass entertainers, whether they still do drag or not. I do know that Fifi doesn't do drag anymore. I don't believe Aja does drag anymore. But yeah, even though some of them make bad wigs, sure, Serena Chacha, I think that all of them are fierce talents. And as much as I don't like the fact that that All Stars is kind of overdone, I think it's been done to death at this point. Um, I can't even say I'm angry that they've done so many All Star seasons, because I think All Star 6 is going to be a hoot and a half. All Stars 4, all of these All Star seasons brought some level of entertainment. If it were me, I would have skipped All Stars 4 and 5. I just felt like those seasons only. The only thing those seasons did was give Trinity, Shay, and Monet a crown. Ooh, that rhymed. How fun. But that's all I really got to say about that. This is I'm happy with this list. Let's see how I ranked it previously. Okay, as you can see, my previous ranking is pretty much the same. The only differences I see is the bottom category. Okay, the bottom category I'd kept the same. The only difference is Mayhem I put in that category of why are you here. But I guess talking it out, I understood it a little more. Okay, I see the wild card has kind of changed. I had Pandora in the wild card previously. I don't know why I did that. I also didn't have Manila or Latrice in that category. And I didn't have BB in that category either. So that changed a little bit. Some star, that changed a little bit. I had Naomi in fan favorite. I don't know why I did that. And then Jiggly was in fan favorite. Where did I have Trinity? Oh, I had Trinity there. So it's a little bit the same. It's just I moved some people down and I moved some people up. I think fan favorite is pretty much the same, for the most part. Oh, I just moved Juju down there because I like really thought about it. But yeah, I'm happy with this. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about my ranking. I'm gonna kind of end this video with like some questions and answers before I log off. This was pretty fun. I actually really enjoyed myself. Um, Deshaun asked, "Did you like Paul's Drag Race?" I did actually. I actually did watch a little bit of it. I enjoyed it. It looked like a college. They looked like they had a great time. I really enjoyed it. It was great. I just got out the shower. I'm back. How are you? I'm doing well. Agreed about Jan. I don't know why get fans are so crazy. Again, it's all about the shirt. Blah. It's all about the young, skinny, white queens that they obsess over. Like, that's all it really takes to be a fan favorite, which is pretty sad in my opinion. This season's going to be some Survivor Bad Girl Club battle. Agreed. And that's why I'm here for it. Interesting rumor I heard was that Monet got called for All Stars while season 10 was still airing. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised about that, to be honest. I think Monique Hart got a raw deal on All Stars 4. I actually agree with you, Clint. I think that Monique should have been in the top two over Monet Exchange. I think that both of them are fierce, but I think that Monique and Trinity should have been the top two of All Stars 4. That's just my opinion. Aaron says, "This is such a random thumbnail. I click on it and I see a shirtless Dylan." Well, like I said, I wanted to be a thirst trap. I'm kind of annoyed though because I think my stalker is watching because I got a phone call from an unknown number. So I am probably gonna have to call the police after this and let them know that he contacted me again. So yeah, even though I'm not sure if it's him 100%, but it's too hot for me to throw a shirt on. And I thought like being a thirst trap to get the gays excited for my video. Did you put Shangela on this list? Yes, TV bland person, I did. Shangela is in the fan favorite category just because I think that Shangela was a serious contender, but what really brought her back was her personality and her likability more than anything. But welcome to the channel, TV bland person. I hope you are not that crazy motherfucker. Keisha sent me a heart. I love y'all. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. If I don't have any more questions, all I can really say is, oh, we went up to 1.47 subscribers. I appreciate that. Okay, all I can really say is thank you guys so much for watching. This was a really fun live stream. It does not feel like I've been here for 2 hours. Let me know what you guys want me to do next. Leave it in the comment section or in the live before I end it. What is another do you like these tier list videos? Do you want to see more of them? Do you enjoy them? Do you have a good time? Do you want me to do a tier list with Big Brother or with Survivor? Do you want me to do another RuPaul Drag Race tier list? I could do the winners. I could do the runner-ups. I could do challenges. Like, I could do really anything. These are actually a really fun time for me. and they're really easy to make. I literally just have to sit at my computer and do whatever. So yeah, just let me know. Reminder that when All Star 6 comes back, I believe it's coming back next week or the week after that. I will be doing weekly recaps. I will be doing it with Silent Podcast on YouTube and Twitch, but I also will be doing it with YouTube. I will be doing a YouTube live stream, so talking about it on my own and giving my feelings out. So if you want to see me recapping season 6 of All Stars, come here because the tea is going to be popping hot. I might have some guests on with me. Also, Big Brother 23 is coming back in just under a month. Unfortunately, I will not be participating on it. Maybe next season I will be, but I will also be doing shows for that as well. So yeah, other things to expect from me is I have a Twitch. My Twitch is twitch.tv at slightly bitter with an AH. If you want to watch me do some gaming streams, I will be doing that. I actually might do it after I finish this video, depending on my mood and if I still have enough time. And I'm not too tired because I have. It's been a while since I played a game, so if you want to follow me on Twitter and know when I'm going live and you want to keep up with all of my funny tweets, my Twitter is also at slightly bitter with an AH. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. I have a Discord as well. If y'all want to join it, I can quickly put the link in the chat so y'all can join my Discord server. Just give me a quick second to put that in the chat really quickly. Scott would think I was a cool guy. Da 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 da. Sorry. So that is my Discord. And of course my Twitch is twitch.tv/slightly bitter. So if you want to watch me a little more, you know what? I have decided I will do a live stream in about half an hour, maybe at 10:30, something like that. So if you want to watch me play some games on Twitch, go follow my Twitch. I'm really close to being an associate on there, or whatever, partner, whatever. And I'll give y'all some gaming tonight before I go to sleep. So yeah, that's my ranking. And if you want to do your own ranking, I've provided a list to this. I've provided a link to this tier maker in the description, so you can follow from home. Because if you don't agree with my opinion, that's your prerogative, and you can do it on your own. Anyway, I think I'm gonna close out this live stream just so I don't put it on too long for the people that like to watch this back. But again, thank you all so much. Tune in for more stuff. I'm trying to put more content on this channel. I'm doing a lot of traveling right now, but I'm gonna definitely provide y'all with more content now that I have a good setup and I have a lot of ideas. I want to do a High School Musical parody with my friends, like a little skit. I think it'd be funny, and some gaming highlights. So keep on the lookout. Anyway, from my basement, I am slightly bitter, wishing you a bitter evening. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a catchphrase or a slogan. Let me know if you think that's good. Oh, and be sure whenever you see me live to grab a drink and click the link. Isn't that fun? I think that's really fun. Let me check the chat actually one more time before I leave. Mind if I send you something on Discord? Go for it. Oh yes, do a BB and Survivor tier list. I actually will do that. That sounds fun. Hi Keisha, and then we got Deshawn, all the usuals here. Thank y'all for making me feel safe, to have a safe YouTube return. Hopefully, I'm not gonna get phone calls in the future, and this person will really leave me alone, so I can feel comfortable doing YouTube again. I had to take a break just because I really felt so unsafe after that whole situation, but luckily, I've removed myself, and I'm trying to be as safe as I possibly can. But yeah, I love y'all. I'm gonna end it. Talk to y'all soon.